What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the show, Under Center with Abelson, presented by the Real Spiel podcast. I hope you guys had an incredible weekend. Hope you guys had an incredible weekend of college football. Um, I'm not going to say there was like a bunch of huge matchups, but there were a bunch of important matchups. A lot of matchups where there was teams vying for playoff position spots, teams playing in quote unquote elimination games, where it felt like if they lost, their season's kind of done. So we have a lot to get into. Uh, got some games right this weekend, got some games wrong as always. Feels like we're just stuck in a pit of averageness on our picks this week on our picks this year. But nonetheless, let's get into it. Before we get started, do not forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. As always, we are here a couple times a week talking all things college football. Let's get into it. I guess we can just get this game out of the way. I'm obviously wearing my Louisville jacket, which I don't even know if they deserve to have me wear this right now. We can start with a Friday night matchup between Louisville and Clemson. We picked this game. We talked about this game just because I thought, it was a pretty interesting game. Clemson, I know their season's shit now, but they're in a position where they're still. I don't know. I like talking about Clemson. I don't know why. I still think they're a hell of an interesting story to talk about in college football. It's like a case study on how a team can have so much talent and be quote unquote so good and still be so just bad. But this was a game I was interested to talk about, not only as a Louisville fan, but a college football fan. This game, had some ACC implications with Louisville. They weren't officially out of the ACC championship race and therefore the college football playoff race, but after Friday, it is safe to say they are done. It was just, it was weird because it was a game that both teams felt like they did not want to win. Both teams felt like they just completely did not want to win the game. Clemson was like one of like 14 on third down. Louisville just couldn't get out of the way of making boneheaded decisions that I just didn't understand. And in the end, it comes down to football. They always say is a game of inches. It's a game of hairs. You're splitting hairs. The margin of errors are so minimal that one play can decide the game. And that one play ended up being a missed field goal or a missed point after conversion that happened in like the second quarter, like the second or the third quarter, where you don't think it matters. At that point, I think it was like 19-13 Clemson. Clemson ends up scoring the ball to make it 20-19. And again, they just kept the door open for Louisville. K. Klubnik, they marched the field at one point, got all the way down to Louisville's red zone, and Louisville forced the fumble. They fumbled like twice on the third down. They went for it on the fourth down. Dude tried to jump over the line. Ball got hit out. They breathed life into Louisville. And what happens on the very next possession? We are back in our own end zone. We get a great first down run by Kewan Brown. Great first down run. When you're in the back of the end zone, that's all you can ask for. To get that first down, to give the quarterback some room, to give the offense some room to actually run more plays. We get the first down on like a 15-yard run. And what happens? Holding. We get backed up. Then next thing you know, obviously they get the 3 and out. We're punting from our own end zone. They get the ball. But again, Louisville, they get the stop. Because again, both teams did not want to win this game. And then time keeps ticking down and down and down. And what happens? We are in a position where we get another stop late into the fourth quarter. They muff the punt. Clemson's punter muffs the punt. We get great field position. And what happens on the very next possession? We get like an unsportsmanlike conduct. What are we doing? Obviously, I assume a lot of y'all have seen, our kicker. Well, it was two different kickers. One of the kickers, the kicker that missed the point after conversion, he missed the first field goal. We put in, the backup kicker. We had another chance to kick a game-winning field goal. He missed it. The first one, I can understand. It was, a 52, 53-yarder. He's been knocking those down all year long. He has leg on him. Literally last week against Cal, he hit a 49-yard field goal in the first overtime to give us a 3-point lead, which it didn't matter. But I didn't think it was a position where the nerves were getting to him. He's been knocking down 50-yarders all year. I guess the pressure got to him. He missed it. Backup kicker came in. Another chance to kick a game-winning field goal. What happens? He misses it. Um, that's just the life of a Louisville fan, man. I try not to be biased on this channel. I'm a college football fan at heart, but I obviously am a Louisville fan. But it's just painful being a Louisville fan because every year, especially with Brom, I love Brom. I'm so happy he's here, but he just has a history of winning big games, which he gets all the praise for. Well deserved every year. Notre Dame, Clemson, Miami. Every year he's gonna get you one. He's gonna get you one big game. But I say all the time, he is going to lose you a game that you should have no business losing. First year, Pitt. That was a team that went to the ACC. Louisville was the team that went to the ACC championship game. We started out the season 5-0, and we lose to Pitt on the road. Had no business losing to them. I don't care if it was a rainstorm. We had no business losing to them. Last year, Stanford. Had no business losing to Stanford. None. That was an inexplicable loss. And what did that loss come down to? Terrible game management, poor decision making, knucklehead plays, just like this game. And it pains me to say, undisciplined teams who are always getting penalties, it usually starts from the top. Like, the reason Miami feels like they're a team that always deals with penalties is because it feels like their coach is somewhat, I'm trying to think of the right word to say, like somewhat undisciplined, and Mario Cristobal has always struggled with game management and game decisions, and it just feels like it always trickles down, and you can kind of correlate a team with, who gets a lot of penalties to the way their coach is. I'm not saying that's Braun, but it's starting to become a more common thing. It's starting to become a common problem, and it's starting to lose us games. And it's just frustrating as a Louisville fan. It is frustrating as a Louisville fan. Like I said, we had very minimal chances of, still making the ACC championship game, especially with Virginia winning against Duke on Saturday. So chances weren't great, but that completely knocked us out, So now the best we can do is, go 9-3, which I'm not mad about. Yes, when you are a team who gets up into the 14th ranking, you beat a number 2 team in the country. It's frustrating to not be able to finish the job, but we can't let the college football playoff dilute fan bases into thinking that if you don't make the playoffs, you cannot have a successful season. I know that's kind of the way it's heading with, the Big Ten, the SEC, and the bowl game culture now, how bowl games don't really matter or mean as much. A lot of programs out there would kill to be able to win 9 games every single year. So if that's like my floor, if we end up 9-3 and we win a bowl game as a Louisville fan, I can't be too upset. So wanted to get that out of the way before we jump into all the other games. Louisville, we gotta do better. And yeah, my spread got fucked up off that, which is wild because it opened as a 3.5 point favorite for Louisville, and by the time the game kicked off, Louisville was only a 1.5 favorite, which I just still don't get how Vegas does this. I just don't get it. I don't get it. The spread, if you picked Clemson plus 1.5, the spread covered off of a missed field goal or a missed point after conversion. It just doesn't. That just doesn't make sense. But yeah, let's get into another game. Notre Dame versus Pitt. That was the college game day game. This is another game we got wrong. We'll talk about our record at the end of this episode, but we got the Louisville spread wrong. We had Louisville minus 2.5. We had Notre Dame, or we had Pitt plus 11.5. This is a game in my preview how I talked about how Pitt has a really, really stout defense, especially a run defense. They're able to, they have the number 3 run defense in the country, actually. So they're able to stop the run, and I didn't think they'd be able to completely contain the run of Notre Dame, because like Jeremiah Love, he's just too good. He's gonna get loose. He's gonna get break containment. He's gonna have a play or two that completely just opens up, and that it did. But Pitt didn't do a terrible like Jeremiah Love. He's gonna get off. He's gonna get his. He's just that incredible of a talent. He is going to get his. He ran for 147 yards on 23 carries and a touchdown. But outside of that, like Notre Dame, like Pitt did a pretty decent job of them against the run. Like if you said that Pitt would hold Notre Dame to 175 yards rushing in the game, like I feel like that's something that they would have taken, especially with the 1-2 punch versus Price and Love. Love basically got 90% of the yards, and Jeremiah Price only had 21 yards rushing. So you would have. I mean, if I'm a Pitt fan, I would have been like, yeah, like we hold Notre Dame to 175 rushing on the yard or rushing yards. Like I'd take that. As long as they're not rushing for 200-300 yards, then I'd take that. But the story of this game was really the defense of Notre Dame and the offense of Pitt, because Pitt's defense did a pretty decent job in the first half. They did a pretty decent job of limiting the big plays. In the run game, like CJ Carr, he went 21 for 32 with 212 yards. He only had 6.6 yards per attempt. So, like, they did a pretty good job in that first quarter, right up until about halftime, of just limiting big plays outside of the one big run that Jeremiah Love had and a couple, contested jump balls off of free plays. Notre Dame's offense wasn't lighting it up per se. But what really didn't give Pitt a chance was their offense, which is a little surprising with how well the offense has been playing this with Mason Heinschel starting, especially with how many points they've been scoring. Like they've been scoring 30 to 40 points basically at will. They've won by an average margin of 19 points, and that was just all gone today. That was all gone. For really the first time this year, Mason Heinschel looked like a true freshman. Like that Notre Dame defense was just relentless. They were just getting pressure on him time after time. That pick six on, I think, their opening drive, because again, Pitt's defense did a pretty decent job in the first half. The difference in the early game was a pick six that Mason Heinschel threw, a terrible throw, and then a busted coverage or a busted play where Jeremiah Love broke loose and ended up scoring. But the defense of Notre Dame was just on one. They were giving Mason Heinschel trouble. They were pressuring him. They were trying to pull up this. They sacked him 4 times. They pressured him. They had 7 tackles for losses. And it just felt like time after time he was getting pressure. And it really felt like for the first time the moment was too big for him. He looked like a true freshman. He threw for that pick six. Only threw for 126 yards, 16 to 33. And it didn't help that he had which it's weird because usually when you have a young quarterback starting, you don't really put the game in his hand. You don't kind of put it all on his shoulder. If you have a good run game, you kind of scheme things to make it easier for them. But it feels like since Mason, and this is a credit to him with how well he's been playing, Pitt's just been like letting him loose. Like you have a great arm, go throw the ball. And it's been working. Granted they haven't really played great competition, but they've played decent ACC teams. And he's a true freshman, an 18-year-old kid out there. And for the first time against a really, really talented team and a really hard defense, it was starting to show a little bit. It felt like the game was moving too fast. He was missing throws. He just wasn't seeing the field well. And Notre Dame's defense just put a vice grip on them and just took control of this game. Even Pitt's touchdown, like CJ Carr threw a pick six. That's one of their points that they had late in like the second half. CJ Carr threw a pick six, and then Pitt scored another touchdown literally as time was expiring with like 5 seconds left. So outside of those 2 plays, it would have been pretty much a shutout because again, Notre Dame's defense was just odd one. And man, I am so curious to see what's going to happen with Notre Dame in Miami, because Pitt might be able to give Miami some trouble, but I think unless there's just an absolute Mario Cristobal masterclass where he just completely blows a game in November, I'd like to think Notre Dame's going to handle Pitt. I mean, they just completely handled NC State, but I'm so curious to see what the committee's going to do with Notre Dame and Miami because it feels inevitable that these two teams are going to end the season 10-2, and from there, what do you do? Because like you have to honor the head-to-head. At the end of the season, I still think Miami's going to have a better resume because they have the win over Notre Dame. And Notre Dame, yes, they have the Pitt win, but now Pitt's not going to be ranked probably when they play Miami. So does that? I know they're not going to be ranked, but like they're still basically the same level of team in my opinion. So yeah, it's going to be pretty interesting, man. It's going to be very, very interesting. But yeah, we'll save that for another day. The community rankings come out on Tuesday, so we'll probably touch on that a little bit on Tuesday. What game will we hit on next? Iowa USC. Let's talk about that one. This is a brutal one. I had USC minus 6.5. Maybe it's my own damn fault for betting USC to cover. But this game was a true tale of two halves. A true tale of two halves, man. Because early in this game, first of all, opening possession, excuse me, Iowa comes out guns blazing. I'm talking about Gronowski, two passes, and they are already in the red zone within like a minute and a half of the quarter start. It looked like Iowa was like Oregon from like the Chip Kelly era. It was insane. I've never seen Iowa throw the ball around like that. Just in the first half in general, man, Gronowski was making plays, running, passing. They did a Philly special little trick play to set up a wide receiver or the quarterback to catch a touchdown pass. It was wild, man, and I thought Iowa was going to run away with the game. They went up 14-0. Then, they went up 21-7, and it just felt like in that first half, they were just kind of controlling the game. USC was having trouble kind of establishing the run. The defense of USC was, especially in that second quarter, they were running the ball all over USC, especially straight up the middle. Iowa was just dominating USC on the ground, and USC really couldn't do nothing about it. And I thought it was headed towards one of those classic USC can't withstand the physicality of a true Big Ten team, like a true physical Big Ten team. But something happened in that halftime. Credit to Lincoln Riley because, again, I'm not a big USC guy. I don't know. It's weird because I used to like Lincoln Riley when he was at Oklahoma, but he went to USC, and then the vibes just started to get weird, and I don't know. I'm not really a big Lincoln Riley guy anymore. Not really a big USC guy, but credit to Lincoln Riley, man. I don't know what he said to his team in his halftime, but they came out with a different attitude, a different edge. They pitched it. They held a shutout in the second half. Iowa didn't score a single point in the second half. Had 21 to 10 at halftime, and game ended up 26-10 or 26-21. Jaden Mayava and Mekhi Lemon, that connection is absolutely insane. The amount of big play and big catches that Mekhi Lemon had in the second half was incredible. He definitely, I know people just automatically Jeremiah Smith. Like, I get it. Jeremiah Smith is a generational talent. I understand. But if we're just talking about maybe like impact and like just the play of this year, Mekhi Lemon has a very, very, very strong case to be the best wide receiver in the country. He really does. And for a guy, I don't know how tall he is, but like he doesn't like Jeremiah Smith is a unit. When you see him on that field, you're like, okay, that guy looks different. Mekhi Lemon isn't like this big dude. Like, he looks pretty short, like on the field. He looks like maybe 5'11", maybe 6 foot. Like, but the way he can just jump up and high point a ball. The amount of contested catches he had, the amount of catches he had at the point of attack. I mean, he's just an incredible talent. And Jaden Maiava, he's putting the ball in positions for him to catch all the time. So give credit to them. But also give credit to that USC defense just completely flipping the switch after getting manhandled in the first half to be able to, strap up and limit the possessions and limit the big plays of Iowa, which sounds kind of weird, Limit the big plays of Iowa in a sentence is insane. But they did it. They got the stops they needed to get, and that was a big win, man. And the weather was not great. It was raining. The field was wet, and kind of like the USC or USC the Iowa Oregon game. I kind of said the team who could kind of play their style the best, would probably win the game, and I kind of felt the same way about this game. And Iowa was playing their style the best in the first half, and USC flipped the switch and started playing their style the best in the second half, and they ended up getting the win, 26-21. I didn't hit on this one. We took USC -6.5, but it's a great win for USC, and this sets up an absolutely gargantuan game next weekend. I'm so excited to see old Pac-12 foes, Oregon and USC, in a huge game. It definitely is an elimination game for USC. It feels like it could be an elimination game for Oregon. Not an elimination game, but it definitely makes that last week with Washington a little sticky. Because, again, Oregon, outside of that Iowa win, they don't really have a lot of great wins on their resume. So if they lost this one to USC, even if they maybe won out 10-2, it feels like there's a chance they could get left out. I don't think they would, but it just feels like there is a chance. But yeah, this is a huge game for USC next weekend against Oregon, and happy they could get this one done. Next up, a game I was proudly right about. We had Oklahoma and Alabama. This was a huge game because this again. There was a lot of games that felt like they had playoff elimination and playoff implications. If Oklahoma lost this one, it's tough. They probably wouldn't make it as a 9-3 team because this would have been the win they needed as a 9-3 team to make it. If they somehow lost to Mizzou or LSU, there's a chance they could still make it as a 9-3 team, but they needed this one. This one had to be the one they had if they have a chance of making it at 9-3, but that doesn't matter because they are 8-2. And they get a big road win against Alabama. This Alabama team who they snatched the record from Georgia. They went and beat Georgia, and they now had the longest active home winning streak of 17 games. Kalen DeBoer has never lost a game at Alabama in his time. All his losses have been on the road. And this was just I haven't seen a game like this from Alabama where it was just sloppy on all phases. It was just sloppy on all phases. Alabama's first opening possession, Ty Simpson just throws a pick six, just misses the defender. I think he got pressure, just completely misses the defender, throws it right to him. He takes it back for a pick six, and I'm starting to notice over the last couple games, Ty Simpson has been a guy since that Florida State game who's been extremely accurate, extremely decisive and divisive with his passes, getting the ball out on time, on target, quick. And there was a couple big plays that he missed against LSU. And a lot of people just brush it off and saying, oh, those, good defense against LSU. He was just barely off. It was just an off game for him. And again, this is the second straight game where there was a lot of big plays where there was a pass to Bernard, 20, 30-yard pass to Bernard on the sideline where he barely misses his hands. There was another 20-yard pass that went to Bernard where he threw it and the ball just airmailed over Bernard, had him wide open. There was a lot of plays where he was just off. His timing was off. His accuracy was a little off. And that's 2 games in a row. I don't want to sit here and say it's a problem, but 1 time's an accident, 2 times a trend, or whatever the saying is. I don't know. And it's starting to maybe become a trend. Got to maybe see it for one more game. I don't know. Let me not make that judgment yet, but definitely something to look at. But Yeah, I mean, Oklahoma, they didn't really need to do anything crazy. I'm pretty sure the first half offensive stats were Ty Simpson literally broke the record, the Alabama quarterback record for most yards in the first half. He had like 246 yards in the first half, and I think at that point Oklahoma had like 50 to 60 yards of offense in the first half, and they were winning 17 to 14. It's crazy because Oklahoma had 14 points going into their third possession and only had the ball for 10 total minutes during the game. And that just goes to some of the miscues for Alabama. They have that pick six to get the points. And then, on Oklahoma's second possession, which came from the fumble. Yeah, which came from the fumble that Ryan Williams had on the punt return, running it back, ball gets punched out, sets up Oklahoma in short field position. A couple plays later, Mateer runs it for a 20-yard touchdown run, and boom, just like that, it's 14-7 at that point, or 14-0. It's 14-0 at that point. And, credit to Alabama. They go back, they score the ball, make it 14-7. But yeah, the miscues in the first half, they had an interception, and there was another interception that could have very well been an interception on a terrible, terrible pass from Ty Simpson. Got very, very lucky in the end zone that the defender got called for pass interference. The pass interference didn't even do anything at the play. Like, Ty Simpson just threw it way, way too early. The defensive back dropped back, got the interception. So he got lucky there. But, in the first half, they had the fumble, they had the interception. They have a chance to tie the game while sending it into halftime, and the snapper snaps it too high, and the kicker just misses it wide left. Just wasn't really a clean game for Alabama. And again, this is a game where Oklahoma didn't have to do much. John Mateer literally threw for 138 yards, 15 for 23, 138 yards, and Oklahoma only ran for 74 yards. Coming into this game, if I would have told you Oklahoma would have less than 150 yards passing and less than 100 yards rushing, you would have probably said Alabama won this game walking away. To have literally about like 205 total yards of offense compared to Alabama's 400 yards of offense, like they literally got doubled in the offensive yards. And why did that happen? Why did Oklahoma still get a chance to win? Turnovers. Like, that's literally turnovers and miscue. You had the Ty Simpson early pick. You had the Ryan Williams fumble. You had the strip sack fumble where, the defender beat his man and just sacked the Ty Simpson. Ball went flying. And Oklahoma had no turnovers. That's literally it. 3 turnovers for Alabama to no turnovers for Oklahoma. And again, going back to John Mateer not having to do too much. He didn't have to do too much because he wasn't turning the ball over. And Oklahoma scored on all those turnovers. They got 17 points off those turnovers, 2 touchdowns and a field goal off those turnovers, and they didn't turn the ball over. Their defense played incredibly well, and that's how you find yourself getting outgained double and still being in a position to win this game. Especially on that last drive, Alabama has a chance to go down. All they need is a field goal, and absolute masterclass by Brent Venables on the defensive end. They were sending pressure. They got a sack, made it through in 21, didn't convert on the third down, but made it a manageable fourth down. And on that fourth down, he just kind of sends not an all-out blitz, but sends a lot of pressure and just doesn't get the ball complete. And a great defensive play by, I think it was the same dude who got the pick six. Ty Simpson threw it to the flat route, and he made a great play to get a deflection. And yeah, Oklahoma goes into Tuscaloosa and wins. This definitely makes things interesting. This definitely makes things interesting because now Alabama's in a position where they have to beat Auburn. And I know Auburn's fired their coach and whatever, but the Iron Bowl, there's always weird shit that happens. Doesn't matter how good or how bad one of the other teams are, some crazy shit is always going to happen. And when it's in Jordan Hare, and Auburn can have a chance to spoil Alabama season, that's going to be their Super Bowl. They're going to come out and they're going to. I'd be surprised if Alabama blew them out just because of the fact, it's in Jordan Hare, Iron Bowl, playoff spoiler. But yeah, Alabama definitely made things a little hard off of a game that if they don't turn the ball over, if they don't have all those miscues, that they could have easily won because, again, Oklahoma didn't need to do too much. All they did was just not turn the ball over, counter on those turnovers they did get, and that was the difference. So shout out to Oklahoma, man. It's wild because Oklahoma has 4 wins against AP top 25 teams. They beat Auburn when they were ranked. They beat obviously Alabama. They beat Tennessee, and talk about a second straight SEC road win. They went on Tennessee on the road and won. Now they went on Alabama on the road and won. This is a team that people, maybe myself, I didn't fully jump off the bandwagon, but I had said on record that Oklahoma's not looking as good as they were. But credit to Oklahoma. It looks like John Mateer is playing a little better, getting healthy. The defense is playing extremely well, and they are in a great position to make the playoffs now. Because this felt like a team who may have been on the outside looking in, especially, with Texas having the head-to-head, and we'll talk about that next, but Texas having that head-to-head, and if they won, but with Texas losing, Oklahoma winning this game, they play a backup quarterback who we know Brent Venables feast against young quarterbacks. Feast. He's probably going to dial up some crazy exotic stuff to give Zeller, whatever his name is, a lot of trouble because his record against, I don't know, his record against, inexperienced quarterback is something crazy. And, that game against Mizzou, the game against LSU, they both feel like games that they should win. I'm not going to say they're going to, but those feel like games that they should win. They'll be favored in. So, Oklahoma, they control their own destiny, man. They went out. They are in the playoffs. And speaking of Texas, we had Georgia versus Texas. A huge game. Again, this is basically the same exact scenario as the Oklahoma Alabama game. Texas playing for the playoff lives. If they lose, it kind of feels like they're going to be out. Even if they beat Texas A&M, it still feels like they're going to be out going up against the one-loss team who's at the top, near the top of the SEC on the road. Texas didn't put up as good of a fight, though. Texas did not put up as good of a fight as Oklahoma did. This was, I don't know, man, because it just feels like Georgia, they are just peaking at the right time, man. They are just peaking at the right time. Early in the season, we constantly talked about how Georgia, why are they continuously and consistently getting off to slow starts? Why are they spotting teams 10, 14 points every single game? Why are they constantly having to claw, scratch, and crawl and claw their way back into games? And it feels like they're just starting to peak at the right time. The last 2 games, they've just absolutely dominated, have gone out to fast starts, have never looked back. And this was another one, man. Georgia, they score on their first 2 possessions. Yeah, their first 2 possessions right out the gate. Boom, boom. 14-point lead. No. It's not a 14-point lead. Texas scores on their first possession, actually, which Arch Manning looked pretty good. Arch Manning looked pretty solid. He was making some great throws, to Moore, to Wingo. They go down the field on the opening possession and get a field goal. They look like they're clicking pretty well. And then Georgia on their opening possession, they go down and get a touchdown, 7-3. They score again, 14-3, and just like that, it's Texas, what's going on? This game could get away from you. And credit to Texas's defense, though, for keeping them in the game because it could have gotten south fast. It eventually did, but it was more delayed and prolonged because after Georgia went up 14-0 or 14-3, they really didn't do much more offensively for a while, actually, because they didn't score again until the fourth quarter because it was 14-10 at halftime because Arch Manning great drive before the half, marches down, gets that like slant route touchdown to Wingo to make it 14-10. They go into the halftime. And again, Texas's defense was playing pretty well. They were getting stops, forcing punts on Georgia. And in the fourth quarter, it just kind of, the flood walls just broke, man. The flood walls just broke. Started with a touchdown by Georgia, and then the savvy move to kick an onside kick after the touchdown. Just an insane coaching move by Kirby Smart, which again, that touchdown, the prior touchdown got set up because he went for it on fourth down, I think once or twice, set up the touchdown. And from there, Texas defense just kind of really couldn't do much at that point. Again, it's so hard to continually and consistently ask a defense to step up time after time after time, especially against a good team. And when their offense isn't really performing, there's just only so much the defense can do. Eventually, they're going to break. We see it so many times again and again. And that's what happened when it started raining. It poured, man. When it started to rain, it poured. And Georgia really just never looked back from that point, man. Gunnar Stockton, man, this is a guy I had my doubts about coming into the season. But I say this time and time again, man. I guess there's a reason why Georgia really didn't fight to keep Carson Beck. Kirby never went to the portal. I don't know if he tried to. I don't have any inside scoop on anything, so I don't know if he just tried to go to the portal and just didn't succeed, but it felt like it was Gunnar Stockton's team as soon as Carson Beck left. And, I mean, he's just gotten better and better and better every single week, and it's peaked at this game. I'm not going to say it's peaked, but, like, it's gone to the height that has gone to this game. 24 for 29, 230 yards, 4 touchdowns. He did have a pick, but definitely made him up for it. Ran for a touchdown as well, and all the touchdowns were just great plays. The running game was going. ETN had 72 yards. They ran for 130 yards, and they just played a great, well-rounded game. This was by far the best game that Georgia's had all year. Again, in all phases, they were on top of it. Offense was clicking. Defense was flying around. Got a pick on Manning. Got a couple sacks on Manning. Was just kind of getting pressure in his face. And again, I'm not going to... It's tough because they got blown out, but I'm not going to say Manning played terrible. He threw for 250 yards. The interception he threw for was a bad interception. He kind of sidearmed it, and it just kind of got away from him and kind of overthrew it on Moore, and just an interception. But, I mean, the run game was just completely non-existent today. They ran for 23 yards. Wisner ran for 37, and that was literally it. 37 yards from Wisner, 3 yards from Baxter. And I know they do the negative rushing yards for the quarterback. Manning technically had negative 17 rushing yards because he was getting sacked, but still, even if you want to take those away, they ran for 40 yards. 40 yards. We know Manning hasn't really been a quarterback who can just sit back and drop back and kind of put the team on his shoulder and lead them to victory. And the running game was non-existent. Georgia's defense was flying around. The defense was getting pressure. And it was just a perfect storm for Georgia tonight, man. Again, on all phases, special teams, offense, defense was clicking. And they just put a beat down on Texas. Yeah, Georgia, I mean, it's tough. It's tough to... I'm not going to be a prisoner of the moment, but in my opinion, I would probably put Georgia as the best team in the SEC right now. The best team. I know we saw Texas A&M find their way back to winning a game, but I mean Texas A&M, they really haven't played anybody, bro. Their schedule has been pretty bad, and we're not talking about it a lot because they're undefeated. It's the first time in history that Texas A&M hasn't just beaten themselves, but they've played LSU. And again, you can't, I don't like really talking about this too much because a team can't control what their schedule eventually turned out to be. But I mean, you beat a Mizzou quarterback, or Mizzou with a backup freshman quarterback. LSU when they fired their coach the next week. Arkansas, and again, some of these games have been close against with A&M. Like you beat Arkansas by like what 3 single digits. Mississippi State, you beat them by what 3. I'm not saying they're frauds or anything. I'm just saying like I'm reserving my thoughts for Texas A&M until I see them in a real game, in a real game. We've seen Georgia tested. We've seen them play, good teams. We've seen them go on the road to Tennessee. We've seen them knock off Texas. And yeah, I think they're peaking at the right time. Kirby Smart's got these guys playing great at the right time, and Georgia's a scary team, so watch out for them, man. Watch out for them. Let's just quickly go through a little bit of the other action we had over the weekend. Again, we were talking about Texas A&M. I mean, come on, South Carolina. Like, what are we doing? You go up 27 points at halftime, 30-3 at halftime, completely controlling the game, making Marcel Reed panicked, making him just have terrible plays, 2 interceptions, a fumble. They had like a missed field goal. Everything's going your way. And you're telling me you couldn't even get like a field goal or a touchdown in the second half? That could have been the difference. That could have been the difference. That's crazy. That's crazy. Shout out to Texas A&M. I'm not gonna be like one of those guys who, Texas A&M has holes. They have a bunch of, they're frauds. They got exposed. Everything wrong went their way in the first half. Everything. 2 interceptions, a dropped touchdown. I think it was Concepcion dropped a touchdown in the end zone. 2 interceptions, a fumble, a missed field goal. Nothing's going your way. And it's not like they came back from like 14 or like 10 or like 12 or like 17. 27 points. That's not an accident. You don't come back from 27 points with it being an accident. Their defense just completely stepped up in the second half. Marcel Reed just looked like a completely different player. He was just putting everything on time and on target, big play after big play. And yeah, shout out to Texas A&M for a huge comeback. Michigan pulling one out narrowly against Northwestern. That Northwestern team's tough. That's a tough team to play, man. I'm impressed with how Northwestern has played this year, man. I really am. But Michigan, they get it done. Bryce Young leads them to a game-winning drive to set up a field goal. So shout out to Michigan. If they can get through the next game, we have a chance to see an 8-2 Michigan or 9-2 Michigan going to Columbus this year. No, it's at Michigan Stadium this year. Yeah, have a chance to knock off Ohio State, man. They got a chance. And after last year, after them losing as a 20 and a half point underdog when they couldn't even throw a forward pass, nothing's off the table. Nothing's off the table. I know how great Ohio State has looked, but remember, I keep going back to Ohio State hasn't been tested yet. They have not been tested. So we'll see. And they're maybe a little banged up. Jeremiah Smith looked like he was hurt a little bit towards the end of the game. Carnell Tate missed his second straight game. Hey, I'm not saying it, but just keep it in mind, man. Just keep it in mind. Texas Tech looking still as dominant as ever. Just handling UCF. Georgia Tech, man. Boston College, I know they're they only won 1-10, but they've played some tough games, man. They played Notre Dame tough. Took till the fourth quarter for Notre Dame to kind of separate. They played Louisville tough. They took Georgia Tech to the brink of elimination. Had to kick a game-winning field goal to win. I mean, Boston College, man, they've been giving some teams a little trouble. Virginia and Duke, I haven't believed in Virginia all year. I thought this was going to be a spot where they just lost, and credit to them. Played an amazing game. Defense played great, and they beat Duke. Miami beating NC State. Florida and Ole Miss, man. That was one that I don't know if I saw coming, to be honest, because last time we saw Florida out there, they were getting curb stomped by Kentucky. And if you're getting curb stomped by Kentucky, that's a problem. DJ Lagway was playing well. had a couple chances, got a couple fourth down stops, a couple fourth and goal stops to prevent LSU from Ole Miss from scoring. But Ole Miss just making enough plays and barely, narrowly winning. Um, so that's gonna be something to look at. Obviously, Lane Kiffin, Ole Miss, Florida. Is he gonna leave? Is he gonna stay? Who knows? But yeah, BYU, they took care of business against TCU. I know that was a game people had maybe a little upset alert on, but that's pretty much all the action from this weekend. Um, we have 2 regular season weekends left. I mean, this is it, man. This is it. 2 regular season weekends. A lot of still big games. That Texas A&M game could be, actually not really at this point, because even if Texas A&M loses, they're fine. But again, that Auburn game, Georgia Tech rivalry weekend. There's gonna be a lot of games rivalry weekend that are gonna have a lot of implications, man. A lot of implications. So yeah, if you want to make sure you're kept up to all the date with everything going on, make sure to drop a subscribe. Like I said, we're here a couple times a week talking all things college football. We'll be previewing these games, making picks. We'll be recapping, giving you reaction to these games. We go over the college football playoffs. We give reaction to the rankings. So if you're interested in all that, and if you enjoyed this video, leave a like, comment, subscribe. If you've made it this far, I really appreciate it.